Bags down, spikes on. Welcome to the track. Hi, my name's Colin Weitzman. I'm going to be your host for this episode of Track World News presented by Track Barn. And man, oh man, do we have a lot to unpack with the NCAA championship. We saw some of the worst broadcasting that we've ever seen for an NCAA championship. Crazy great performances, crazy underwhelming performances, and everything in between. We're going to be talking about all of that and more on this episode. But before we do, make sure that you subscribe, leave a like, comment, leave a review. It all helps us out super much on this channel and helps us know you're enjoying what's going on. So now let's jump into it. So first thing that we got to talk about, it's the fact that something at this championship happened that could never happen in a million years in any other sport, professionally, collegiately, when there's a broadcast on national television. And that was during one of the prime events. We're at the 60-meter men's final. It is one of the biggest events in the entire championship. The stream cuts out. Black screen for 5, 6, 7 minutes. We don't see what's going on. And to make this even worse, not only did the screen cut out during a very crazy race, in a race that everyone wants to see, there was already an issue that happened that 5 minutes before, which made everyone wonder what's going on, because there was the potential false start and everyone had to get called back. They had to run it again. We didn't know what's going on. And so not only do we have 5 minutes of radio silence, the screen cuts to black, we get a wide view of the entire arena, one of the things where you show when you're entering into the facility, and then we don't see the race. The final happens, we don't get to see what happened. The only thing you get is a view after the fact of the final race. And it makes me think, where else could a major broadcaster get away with doing some crap like this? And the answer is nowhere. Do you think for 1 second that during March Madness or during the national championship in football or any playoff game in college sports or anything like that, that they would be able to just say, you know what? There's 5 minutes left in the second half. There's 5 minutes left in, the championship game. It's overtime, whatever it is. We're going to cut the screen. No one's going to know what's going on. And then the only way you're going to find out what happened is through a video clip that gets posted later. Do you think that the sports world would be like, you know what? That is fine with me. I'm just okay with missing out on the entire championship. I don't care. Of course not. That's not what would happen, because this is unacceptable. We had a major television broadcaster be able to not show what was going on and is just going to most likely be getting away with it. And so it was just a huge issue and a big problem. We've seen this issue for NCAA championships before. What really sucks is if you go back to my old podcasts, actually this exact one at the NCAA championship last year for indoors, I praised the NCAA on how great the quality was. Like this meet last year was fantastic. The way that they had a television broadcasting where they showed just the field events during a time before all the racing events happened, and you could see all the jumps going on, and then they had really good shots and camera angle. They did a great job last year. And then to see the production value that they showed here, it's like, what the heck are we doing? Have you done this before? It doesn't look like you have. And so to see that type of thing at one of the biggest meets of the entire year is just super disheartening. And it's like, we clearly don't matter, because you're putting together this type of performance. We're already on only ESPN 3. You're showing the other conference championships already for basketball. You're already not showing us on the regular channels. So we're already playing third fiddle here. And then on top of already playing third fiddle, you're going to make us have a terrible production value. And it's like, do better. I know you can do better. You've done it. I've seen it. We've all seen it. You've got the money. You've got all the production values. You can do it, but you just didn't. And it was super annoying. So we need the production to just be better. And I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that we do see that in the future. So got off my high horse there with the crazy NCAA stuff. Now let's get into the first track story that was really, really insane. And we're going to talk about the men's 60 like we just did, but we're not going to start with the final like most people will. We have to actually go to the prelims to get where this race really gets interesting. And so this is the prelim, and you normally don't put much mind into it. It doesn't matter too much. It's a prelim. And so Micah Williams, the Oregon track athlete, he had the second fastest time in the entire nation this year. He won nationals last year. Lines up for the prelim. This is during the pole vaulting. It's still pretty loud, and he flinches. He false starts. And everyone goes, oh my God. And he knew right away. If you see the video, he was like, oh no. He had his hands on his face. He was upset. He knew he false started, gets the red card, he's gone. And so now I'm in my group chat saying, holy crap, did you guys just see what happened? You see Micah Williams is gone, and no one's believing it. This is insane. And then just the very next heat, Terrance Jones of Texas Tech, he's lining up at the line, and he false starts. And so it's like, oh my God, the top two people with the leading times in this race false start. They're gone, out of here. And with Micah Williams, really surprising. He has never false started in college. I don't believe he false started really in high school either. So this is something that is very new to him. He does not do this, and it was upsetting. It was disheartening to see that that's what happened. And then for Terrance Jones, it's a little bit different. He didn't have many races this year. He had the one where he had a questionable start by some, where he definitely got out quick, and he ran that 6:45 or 6:47, time adjusted 6:45. And that's where a lot of people thought that he false started, whether he did or not. He didn't get called for it. It stands at a regular time, so that's what we're going with. And so he had that start, and then he doesn't finish a race since that race. An individual race, he did a 4x4, and he did 1/200 that he didn't finish. And so this was his first 60 since then, and his first individual race that he's finishing since January as well. And so, like, seeing that he false starts, like, I'm like, okay, I mean, I can get it. Like, obviously you're surprised, you're dumbfounded when the number one guy false starts, but it's like, with that one, it was more like, oh, wow, like, I mean, I can understand how that happened because you hadn't raced since then. And so nerves were going off. I mean, you had a really quick start last time. So if whether you were trying to time it or just an issue or nerves going on because you're like, crap, everyone think I'm the best. I haven't been able to run for whatever reason, whether it's health or just, a choice or whatever it might be. Now he's in this situation and it didn't go that way. And I want to also make sure that I let people we know. We're going to be talking about a couple other false starts. We'll actually talk about it now. Alia Armstrong, she also false started out of the women's 60. So she wasn't able to compete in the women's 60 in the final. And so this is coming from, in my professional underperforming self, let me tell you something. So I have no-heighted in my event because I pole vaulted. I no-heighted several times throughout my career. And many of those times were at the biggest meets of my entire career. Obviously, I had never competed at a national championship. I was never good enough. I never had the opportunity, but I was able to compete at our conference championship, which for me was like a national title because, it sounds weird. Like, oh, how do you mean it's like the national title? It's like, well, for me, that's as best as I was going to get. Like, competing for a conference championship was just as nerve-wracking, I'm sure, as these athletes who are competing for a national championship because they're competing at the best of their best, and I'm competing at the best of my best. My best was just not as good as these other athletes. And I could see something very similar with Alia Armstrong that I saw with myself when I no-heighted. And that was, you were so focused and so determined that it looked like, because she was whispering to herself, like, you got to do this. You can do this. You can do this. And it's like, I'm looking at that and I was like, oh no, like, you're locked in, but it was like a nervous kind of locked in because she knows she's going in as the top dog. And that's something that when I've been coming in as a top dog in pole vaulting, I would do the exact same thing. I would be like, you got this. No one can beat you. No one can beat you. You're the top dog. and then I end up no hiding because like you're psyching yourself out a little bit. Like you're almost too focused. You're not loose. And so that's kind of what it looked like for me. But it's still crazy to see when you see all these top level athletes are no hiding, or not no hiding, but are false starting out of the competition. I mean, we were robbed of 3 amazing potential performances with these false start rules. And I get it. The rules are the rules. And for the sake of time and, the way that athletics goes, I don't think that you can really change the rules too much to where you can allow for false starts. Because if you allow for one, I mean, how's it going to go? Are you going to allow it for every single heat? And then you're just going to be able to extend these times, and it's really hard. And so to be able to have allow false starts to happen can be difficult when you want to run a tight ship. And so that was some tough performances, but we ended up seeing in the final, we're going to go back to the men's 60. So the winner ended up being Javonte Burnett. So the first time they go in the men's final. And so it was weird because when they were running, there wasn't any second gun for a false start, but there was a sound that happened out of one of the blocks, like a pressure sensor. And so few of the athletes, I think it was Favor, Ash, and Matthew Boling, like stopped like right away, but everyone else continued running. And so they run the race, and Javonte Burnett of USC ends up winning with a time of 6:52. But it gets called back, and they got to run it again because there was some issues with some people hearing a gun, some people didn't. And so after about 10-15 minutes, and of course, we don't see any of this. So after that race, it gets blacked out. No one sees what's going on. And so after that, I guess there was some protests, whatever. They go back, they run it again, and Burnett wins again. So he's able to win the 60 meters twice, which was awesome to see. So it's like, okay, the guy that was supposed to win wins it, and he actually runs even faster. He runs a 6.5. And so I was definitely super excited to see the guy that was supposed to win ends up winning it and in a really fast time. Fun fact, that was actually the biggest upset in the entire conference, or in the entire championship for the men's side. He came in as the 10th seed and then ends up getting the win. And so for him to do that, put up amazing performance. Really excited to see what he's going to be doing if he's healthy. It's the 6th fastest time in the year. He's tied with Trayvon Bromell, who also ran a 6.5. So whenever you're in the conversation with Trayvon Bromell, that's a good one to be in, man. That is a really, really good one to be in. Then let's go on over to the 200. And so this was also a really, really good performance. We see the win by Javonte Harding. He runs a 20.46. Ends up beating Matthew Boling, who came in 3rd place but got DQ'd because he had a lane infringement. He actually stepped on the inside of the lane twice, and as you know, not allowed to do that in track and field. So he gets DQ'd, and this race was a good one for Harding, and it really also put the men for North Carolina A&T, it gave them a chance to win. Obviously, they didn't. Texas ended up winning with 47 points. A&T got second with 36 points, and Tennessee rounded out the top with 31. And so, it gave them a chance. They had a really good hurdler. Obviously, Harding, Ross, 4x4 gave up a fight. Didn't end up doing, but they had some good talent, and it was really good to see Harding performing well. And looking at Boling's performance and his overall performances from this weekend, it looked like he was tired. And it looks like a lot of athletes were tired. I mean, you get to see on the men's 4x4, Iowa puts together 3 guys in the 400-meter final, and they finish outside the top 8. They have the 3 of the top guys in the entire country, and they just didn't do well in the 4x4 because the meet is so condensed. You're running so close to each other when it comes to times that it's just really difficult to be able to put together a good doubles. And this guy was doing he was doing a really, really tough triple. He was doing the quadruple. He was doing the 60 and the long jump, which happened at the exact same time during the prelims. And then he had the 60-meter final, which he had to run twice. Well, actually, he didn't run twice. He did the start and then stopped, and then he ran the 60 final. And then he had to do the 200 and then the 4x4. And so I'm thinking to myself, this guy is doing all of these events back to back to back in a very, very condensed time. it's over the course of 2 days. It's not like the NCAA outdoor championship where it's the men one day, the women the next day. It's just done during 2 days, and you could tell like he was just running like he was out of gas because he was doing a lot of events. And so I'm wondering, are we going to see him, attempt to do all of these quadruples and try to bring home a team victory? Because we saw when Elijah Godwin didn't make the 400 final, realistically, their chances of winning a team title were pretty much gone there. They were looking for 6 to 8 points, and that's really going to be the deciding factor on if you win. And then when you see Boling going out with a DQ, like that's going to be tough. Obviously, he had some good performances. Long jump, he got third place. I think the 60, he got sixth. So he had some good performances, but just not to his standards. So I'm thinking, how is this going to affect what he does outdoors? What's his lead up going to be up to the championship meet? And then what is he actually going to be doing? I think it depends a lot on how the team is structured around him, because we've seen it where if you're just trying to ride with one person, it's almost impossible right now to win a team championship, or it's really hard because you're betting all of your eggs in one basket. If they're on, they're on. If they're out, they're out. And it's real tough. Where like Texas this year, they had a lot of scoring from a lot of different people. They didn't have all their eggs in one basket, which I think is why it really helped them get a team championship. Then let's go on over to Randolph Ross. So he obviously wins with a 44-62, comes very close to actually breaking the NCAA record sent by Norman not too long ago. That was what he was going for. He just barely missed it. But he has an opportunity to do it in outdoors. He even mentioned that, hey, if this was an outdoor track, he would have ran, I think he said like a 42 or 43. So he's coming in with a lot of confidence. It's great to see not only the confidence that he has, but the confidence that North Carolina A&T has as a whole. Head coach Randolph Ross, which is his dad, I believe, he actually was like, when asked, you got second place, you're the first, HBCU to do this, you're doing really great. Like, what's up next? It's like, win. And that's all that we can accept. Like, that's all that we can expect, to win. And it's like, I believe it. I mean, they have a team that can do it. They're going to have to tighten a few things up, but I'm excited to see what North Carolina A&T does in the future. Then let's go on over to the distance side. So Abdihamid Nur, so of Northern Arizona. So he ends up getting the double for the 3K and the 5K. He actually also gets the 5K meet record with a time of 13:19:01. North Carolina A&T got fourth with just 3 guys. So it was him, Nico Young, and Drew Bosley. They combined to get 4th place. And it shows like, hey, this distance crew, they can do something, man. And if they had one sprinter or one jumper really that could compete at a national level, or hey, I mean, if Nico Young just doesn't fall during his race, they're going to be able to potentially put up some really crazy times, get some top 3 times, or some top 3, placings as a team. It's just so interesting to see, when these distance schools come through and do that. You'll get the BYUs every once in a while, and obviously the NAU. So they're going to be exciting to see in outdoors and how they end up doing it for that. On to the women's side. So the women's side, it was a tale of Florida. It was Florida through and through. There was never a chance of really anybody else to win. They scored 68 points. Texas coming through in second with 56, and then Kentucky rounding out the top 3 with 44 points. And your person, the athlete of the meet, and I would say this is the athlete of the meet for the men and for the women, had an overall outstanding performance. That's going to be Jasmine Moore of Florida. She ends up winning the long jump as well as winning the triple jump with a collegiate record. She just puts together some crazy performances. She's amazing. Obviously, the athlete out of Georgia, now competing for Florida. I'm really wondering how Georgia's feeling, because they lost Jasmine Moore and they also lost Anna Hall in the transfers. They both transferred. So that was 30 points that Georgia lost this year, and 30 points that Florida gains this year. And so if they just didn't lose that, Georgia's the national champion. And I know that their coaching staff is looking at that. I know they see it. They have to, because they're in your conference. They're in the SEC. But she puts together a phenomenal performance. The triple jump was, the long jump was extremely close. It was the difference in first and third was 1 centimeter, and the lady that came in third place does that on her 6th attempt. And so it was super close. First place actually tied. It was that Jasmine had a better second performance, which is the reason she won. Sticking with the Florida tradition, let's take a look at Grace Stark. So she actually tied the NCAA record, Brianna Rollins McNeil's record of 7.78. And she puts together a phenomenal performance for not only the 600-meter hurdles, but as well as the open 60. I mean, she's shown that she has some real true speed on the open 60. She came in 4th in that event. And so she did an amazing double. I once again wish that we were able to see wish we were able to see Alia Armstrong in that race in the 60-meter hurdles. But it was crazy. That 60-meter hurdle race for the women was definitely the best performance that we saw of the entire weekend and the competition to watch. If we want to flash back, what was the upset of the night for the women's side? Well, it's going to stick on the sprints. And I'm going with Melissa Jefferson. Melissa Jefferson was able to have an amazing performance when it came to, Melissa Jefferson. Melissa Jefferson puts together an amazing performance in the 60 meters. She ends up running a 7.09. Which was an insane time, and especially when you look at the context of it, that just in the prelims, you had a lady that breaks the national record of Julian. She breaks the national record with a time of 7.05. And then Melissa is able to say, I'm not fazed by that at all, runs a 7.09, wins it. She was seeded 12th going into this event. So to go from 12th to first place, that is our overall biggest upset of the entire night. Phenomenal performance. And, they're names that not many people knew about her. Coastal Carolina, not a lot of people know about Coastal Carolina. And so to have this smaller school and be able to, show that she's a fast runner, very exciting, very interesting. Then let's talk about Abby Steiner. So obviously another athlete that put together an amazing performance. So she had PR in the 60 with a time of 7.1. It was second place. And then she also was able to run a 22.16 and win the 200 meters, as well as be a part of the 4x4, which got third place. So she was a very busy athlete, and she rises to the occasion. Performs very well, isn't able to PR, but when you're the American record holder and you do that last week, it's going to be very hard for you to PR. Still runs a very fast time with a time of 22.16. And yeah, she's going to be a force to be she's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, she's got the range from the 60 to the 400. We don't see that very often. And so for her to be able to not just be a part of that relay, but be a major part of it, and then be able to do some damage in the 60, I'm super excited to see how this is going to translate outdoors for the 100. She mentioned on a FlowTrack interview that she was extremely excited to get ready for outdoors, and she's like, hey, indoor season was great. This went well. Super excited for it. Now it's time to look towards the outdoor track. And I agree with her. I mean, she had a very good season. I'm excited to see how this is going to move along for her for outdoors. And so now I want to finish this off with a few predictions for how I think outdoors is going to go. For the men's side, I'm sticking with my guns and the pick that I made early on for the NCAA championship, and we're going with North Carolina A&T. I think they're going to be the first team since George Mason back in 1996 to be able to win a national championship and not be a Power 5 school. They've got the tools, they've got the ability, and I think the fact that it's outdoors and they're going to have the ability to stretch out the events a little bit more is what's going to help propel them. They didn't even place in the 4x4. They got 9th, and they've got a top 5 team in the 4x4. They just had some real unfortunate luck with the way that timing wise, people in the 400 it's like a back-to-back, 200s right in front of that. So they had some bad timing with that. Randolph Ross also wasn't able to run the 200, even though he's a great 200 meter runner. And I think now they're going to be able to look at that and say, all right, hopefully the scheduling is going to work in their favor, where Randolph Ross could do the 200, the 400, and the 4x4. If they can, that would be major and would give them an opportunity to win. So I'm going with North Carolina A&T. For the women, I mean, it's Florida, right? I don't think it's going to be too close. Actually, when I think about it, it could be close because Texas is going to be getting Tyra Gittens in the pentathlon, and she's also going to probably perform a lot better in the long jump and the high jump. She got second place in the high jump, and I think she got ninth in the long jump. And now that she's going to be more settled in outdoors, I can definitely see it because they only lost by 12. Yeah, but they lost by 12, but Florida didn't actually run a 4x4. Yeah, so that would really actually be like an 18-point loss. It's going to be tough, but I mean, crazier things have happened. If you're able to get some wins, if you can displace Jasmine Moore in the long jump, or if you can see if somebody else wins in that triple, or get some 400 meter stuff going on. I mean, it's a possibility. Anything could happen. So you know what? We'll officially say North Carolina A&T, and just for the sake of having it fun, I think Florida will win, but I'm going to go with Texas just because it's exciting. We got to pick somebody else, right? And that's going to be it for this episode of Track World News. I hope that you enjoyed it with our NCAA championship review. We're going to be doing a whole lot of extra content, especially here on the YouTube channel. We did a poll not too long ago, I think it was yesterday, talking about what kind of videos you guys would like to see. You mentioned tier lists and competition reactions were the two highest voted things there. So we're going to try to bring that stuff to you guys and see if you guys like that stuff here on YouTube. But thank you so much for watching this video, listening to this podcast. I really hope that you're enjoying it. That's going to be it for us here at Track World News. If you want more content, go and follow us over on Instagram at Track World News. We post stuff daily, sometimes even twice or three times a day. So definitely go and tune in on that. My name's Colin. That's going to be it for us. Have a good one. Peace.